Hey, John, how's it going there?
Good. Can you hear me and see me?
I can hear you. I can see you. Aside from having to talk to me, how is that day of yours going?
It's going pretty good. I've been looking forward to talking to you, man.
Well, the pleasure is all mine over here. And let's first talk about the work you're doing with the Travis Mills Foundation. How did that connect happen? Who reached out to who? And how long has that been in the works for that you're part of this great big benefit concert?
Well, it's a good story. So, a friend of mine named Dan Ball, who is on OAN Network, he's one of their anchors there. Dan and I have been friends for 7 or 8 years now. I met him at a Big and Rich concert out in California, and he's a veteran. And
Mhm.
we hit it off and just became friends. And about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, Dan hit me up and he said, "Hey, what do you know about Travis Mills and the Travis Mills Foundation?" At that point, I didn't know a lot about it. So I went and read about it and I called Dan and I said, "This is one of the greatest American stories I've ever heard of. What's going on?" And Dan says they're having a big fundraiser for his foundation in Cleveland. This was last year. You
Mhm.
want to go? I said, "Yeah, man, I'll go." So I showed up. I played for about 60 minutes, played a bunch of hit songs, a bunch of patriotic songs, and got to meet Travis in person, and was just so blown away by this guy. They asked me would I want to do it again, and I said absolutely. So this would be my second year in a row to come up there and play for this great cause.
You mentioned great hit songs, concert. Do you think you'll be playing Progress at this upcoming concert?
I think there's a real good chance I'll be playing Progress at least once. I played it recently at a show, and I had to play it a second time at the end of the show. People liked it so much. I think that song, man, it really hits a nail on the head in a big way. And that song was actually the most downloaded song in all of America for 12 days in a row. It was incredible how people responded to that. So yeah, I'll be singing that. I'll hit you with "Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy." We'll do "8th of November." You know, a bunch of your favorite songs, but in the mix of all that, you're going to have some incredible speakers as well. Travis is going to come out and speak. You know, when you think about the word sacrifice,
Mhm.
Travis Mills, he is the personification of the word sacrifice. I mean, here's a guy who literally left arms and legs overseas on behalf of all the rest of us. And when you get to meet a guy like that and then see how positive this guy remains and the great work that he's doing, it is a humbling experience to be in the room with him.
I can only imagine, but thank you for doing that and your ongoing, devotion towards spotlighting causes that you believe in. But talking about Progress for a second, when you have a hit song that's catchy and has a chorus that people remember, there's two schools of thought. One is that the song took 4 minutes to write, and the other is I worked at this for months and months and it was buried in the back of my head. Which one is it with Progress?
It came pretty fast. So I was at a Home Depot here in Nashville buying 2x4s, plywood, and quickcrete. Me and my brother were working on a little deck out of this little farmhouse. And I was in there looking at these 2x4s. And normally I wouldn't even look at the price of a 2x4, but I'd heard it how expensive they had gotten. So I'm wondering, I wonder how much this is now. And I looked at the price tag. I went, "You've got to be kidding me." And then I went and looked at plywood, and then I looked at the quickcrete. I said, "Well, that's progress for you. You know, that's progress." And then walk out to my truck and I look at the gas station next door and I see the gas prices. I went, "Well, there's some more progress right there." And I thought, if that's their version of progress, they can stick it where the sun don't shine. I don't want any part of that if that's progress to them. That's not my version of progress. So I wrote the little chorus on my iPhone sitting in the truck in the Home Depot parking lot. It just hit me. "Stick your progress where the sun don't shine." I got out my iPhone. I sang it into my voice notes. I called up two of the best songwriters in Nashville, Jeffrey Steele and Vicki McGehee, who are both songwriters of the year at BMI multiple times. They're huge. Jeff's
Right.
in the Hall of Fame actually at this point. And I sang them the chorus. They said, "Let's get together immediately. We got to write this right now." So a couple of days later, we wrote it. I recorded it, put it out in July, and man, the rest is history. It has become quite a phenomenon of a song.
Usually that's not what you hear about when you have a song that has three writers and the singer is one of the three writers. Usually that means, not in your case, well, the three people were in a room together. The person who sung it changed chair to there, and they went, okay, you have a third of the song. But in this
Right.
case, it started with you. an actual hands-on experience, and then the other people added a little polish to it.
Well, I've written a lot of songs. I've written over 2,000 songs in my
Right.
career. I mean, I've written songs for all kinds of other people,
Yeah.
for myself, Big and Rich, you name it. There's a million different reasons why I've written songs, but this one in particular, you know, I had that chorus and I knew they would respond to it, and they did. And I said, I need all the brain power you got, because every line in this song has to hit like a hammer. No wasted words whatsoever. And there is not a wasted syllable in that song. You know, it says, they invite the whole world to come live in our land and leave our countrymen dying in Afghanistan. And, you know, when you think about Travis Mills, there's a guy who was in Afghanistan. And you think about the sacrifice that they put out over there, only to see that debacle of a withdrawal out of Afghanistan. That's a really tough thing for veterans to look at that fought over there. So this thing we're doing on the 12th, November 12th, this is a chance for people, I would view it like this, to be a part of something bigger than yourself, to come be entertained, come be inspired, but know that you're giving to a guy who's hands-on with all these vets. I mean, can you think of a better person to help out struggling veterans than a guy who lost his arms and legs in Afghanistan? I can't. That's got to be the absolute best person to be over those dollars that get raised.
Absolutely agreed. And if we could talk a little bit more of your success as a songwriter, in writing over 2,000 songs, and hundreds of them have been cuts on major label albums. These days, how much are you writing? Because writing is not a necessity like it was in your early days. Now it's I feel inspired, I'm going to write a song, I would have to assume.
I think you pegged it. You must be crawling in my brain a little bit, because that's exactly how it is. Yeah, early on, you know, when you don't have your own hit songs and you can't go out and tour and there's really no money coming in, songwriting, that's it. You know, so you're sitting down every single day writing, hoping somebody will record one of your songs. But these years down the road, we've had some good success, and now when I write a song, there's a point behind it. Now when I'm writing one, I wrote another one called Earth to God. You should go on YouTube and look up Earth to God, John Rich. That's one I wrote all by myself back in 2020. And honestly, that's one of my favorite songs I think I've ever written. And again, not some giant hit song at radio, but just an important song. Songwriting it's powerful, because if you write something down on that blank page and you put it out there, you never know when millions of people might latch onto that and adopt it and go, yes, that's exactly what I've been feeling, what I wanted to say, if I could have said it like that. And songs can become a voice for a lot of people.
I think you're being a little modest there, because if the Wikipedia gods are correct, it says that Earth to God was top 40 country radio. And hey, that's pretty big.
Yeah, it cracked in there for a minute. It
Yeah.
did. You know, I didn't write it for it to be a hit song. I wrote it because it needed to be said. Earth to God, come in, God. It was basically thinking of Earth behind a CB radio, hailing God on an SOS. You know, we need you right now. And that song, it struck a strong nerve with a lot of people.
So I was curious if you could help disprove a theory of mine. So far, only one country artist has ever disagreed with this statement. And that's pretty much every hit songwriter from the 90s and 2000s within the country world grew up on hair metal and stadium rock. So it was Van Halen and Boston were the two big bands. Are you going to disprove that, or you're on that page?
No, that's not me. So I would disagree with that. Yeah.
You're
So
number two.
there you go. I'll be the second guy. My dad's a preacher. He's preached in prisons since he was 19. He just turned 70. He's still going to prisons and preaching. So I grew up listening to a lot of gospel, Southern gospel, bluegrass. Now my dad was a big Johnny Cash, Johnny Horton, Roger Miller, Tennessee Ernie Ford guy. And so I grew up hearing those records all the time. And my dad would sing those songs at family events and stuff. So I grew up a lot of country, a lot of gospel and bluegrass. When I got to be a teenager, though, I will say that two bands that really rock bands that I still today are my favorite bands, Aerosmith and AC/DC. Those two bands, they hit so hard. If you think about Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy, I always describe that to people as AC/DC with a fiddle and a banjo. I mean, yeah, da 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 da. I mean, you can imagine those guys singing that. So Big and Rich is really a mashup of a lot of those things, but at my roots, I'm straight ahead country.
But to prove my point here, Mutt Lange did the AC/DC albums that we care about, and then Mutt Lange did the Shania Twain albums that changed country music. So it does, in a way, all come back to the classic rock people. But back to you here, this great concert on November 12th. That is what we've been talking about. But is there anything else coming up that you'd like to hit on, that you're promoting, that you're pushing, that we should keep an eye out for?
You know, I've got a brand out there called Redneck Riviera, and we built a giant honky tonk down here in Nashville. It's actually now the #1 most searched bar on social, searched honky tonk in all of Nashville on social media, which is pretty cool. It's sitting at #1. And then I've got a whiskey that's in 13,000 stores right now in the U.S. and growing. I give 10% of every single one of those bottles to the Folds of Honor, which I've got their T-shirt on right now.
Sure.
And their ball. And we've sent over $1 million back to them. Now, you know, I think our veterans in active duty, we've got to remember in this country that everything good that you have in your life and things that you may not even think about, you know, like grocery stores and interstates and hospitals and regular stuff that we just think we take for granted. Go to a country that doesn't have the freedom that we have. They don't have those nice things. They don't have regular things that we take for granted every day. We have our military and our military members to thank for not the right to be happy, the right to pursue happiness. I have a high school diploma, barely. I grew up in a double wide trailer in Amarillo, Texas. That is the extent of my pedigree. There's nothing fancy going on with me. I've just always believed that if you think big, you work really, really, really hard, you have a chance at grabbing something pretty exceptional in this country. I think that's why there's lines coming in and no lines going out, because every human being wants what America has. So as Americans, we have to appreciate it, and we have to take the opportunity to support these people every chance we get. That's what we're going to be doing November 12th with Travis Mills Foundation.
To play devil's advocate, growing up in New York and still living in New York, a lot of the double wides are much nicer than the studio apartments that we live in our early 20s.
Right.
So,
oh yeah, you would do well to trade one of those little tiny little apartments for a nice spacious double wide. Yes, you would.
Well, down to the last two questions here before I let you go. First one, as a member of the Fox family, you know, one of the big artists that they always accept, and you pop up at concerts and on television and all that. I'm curious, have you ever met Tyrus?
I have met Tyrus. Tyrus is the biggest 3 people I've ever met. I mean, he's literally take 3 big guys that you can think of right now, put them all together. That's Tyrus. This guy is a mountain. He's a wall. And he's a very kind-hearted guy. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. He's a nice guy. But he and I became friends the first day we shook hands, and we actually keep up with each other quite a bit. He lives in New Orleans. He has a little Redneck Riviera whiskey from time to time, and I'll chime in and support what he's doing. He's a great guy.
And the last thing I got for you, because you brought up Redneck Riviera, we've seen success with musicians in the spirit world within the last 20-ish years. I think it all kind of started with Sammy Hagar and what he accomplished with Cabo Wabo. Where do you hope to take the Redneck Riviera brand? And by that, I mean, not just being in thousands of stores, but could there be other locations in other cities and states, presented festivals, et cetera? Is that the long-term goal of it?
Yeah, so I've actually been approached over the last 3 months multiple times by one of the biggest powerhouse companies in the world in entertainment about doing exactly that. You know, Redneck Riviera is a brand that the motto is work hard, play hard. You know, I service people that they don't believe America owes them anything, but it offers them everything. We support our vets, our active duty, our police. We celebrate hard work. It's blue collar. It's just like the way I grew up. It's month to month paycheck, folks. That's who we service. And I think there's a real yearning for a brand that celebrates those people. You know, the flyover state people. You think about flyover states and you think, oh, Kansas, Arkansas, Nebraska. No, flyover country to me is everywhere from the farms in New Jersey all the way out to Fresno, California. I mean, it's more of a mindset, and it's the hard work and back-breaking work that people do across this country to keep her going. That's the flyover people, and that's who my brand speaks to, and that's who I love the most.
Well, hope to see expansion here into New York. Hope to see you live in New York in the near future. And thanks for all the great positivity that you put out in the world through your volunteer work, your music, etc.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me on, and go check out the Lorraine Palace Theater though. And if you're in Cleveland area, come to the show. And if you're not, you can still make a donation. Every donation for this event is going to be matched dollar for dollar up to $500,000. It's a really big deal. So check it out and pass it around. God bless y'all.
Will do. Have a wonderful rest of the day there, John. Take care.
Thanks, sir.
Paltrocast.